Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roll Insight, the show where I, your humble GM Joshua MacGregor, talks about the latest episodes of the stuff that I've GM'd. In this case, we're talking about episodes 2 of both the Mockeries and the Reserve List campaigns of Race to the Battle of the Bands. Yes, this video is late, but it was Thanksgiving this weekend, and I didn't feel like doing a video over Thanksgiving because there was lots of lovely stuff going on. On the other hand, I did want to get something out before episodes 3 of those two shows come out in the next couple of days. So here we are. And today I wanted to talk about, those two episodes. So let's do... I'm never prepared to actually start these videos. Let's roll insight as our gimmick. Here we go. That is a 3. You are getting very little insight today. I'm kidding. I'm going to do exactly what I always do. So, first of all, I have this new background. I literally hung a white sheet on a clothes rail, and you can see that it flutters around where it touches the back of my chair. The reason I did this is because I've been wanting to do a neutral background for a very long time, but because of the way my desks work and the way the background thing works on my computer for some reason, the backgrounds on Zoom never exclude my face. And so it ends up looking like I am the universe, or I am the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. The only thing I could think to do would be to put a real green screen up behind me, but failing the greenness, I just have this white sheet, so I decided to do a white sheet. Yes, so the Reserve List and the Mockeries, episodes 2. So the Mockeries, what happened was, here's a little bit of insight for you. Those gigs at the various towns usually take 2 filming sessions to do, and we record bi-weekly at the moment. So each session is split up into 2 episodes, which then go up on the channel. That's not been the case for either of these campaigns. It'll be the case going forward, but it's not been the case for the first sessions. We did the Reserve List took 3 sessions. Is that right? To do the thing? Oh yeah, because we had a bunch of character creation stuff at the session 0 stuff. Anyway, 3 sessions overall, and then the Mockeries had 1 session for their first gig. So the result is slightly different episode lengths and different numbers of episodes covering their first gigs. But everything evens out. I made sure everything evens out, so they will be on schedule going forward. Neil's game, I know, has taken quite a lot longer for their first gig, but they are going into the second one soon. So there are little ways, in terms of everything being parallel to each other. Things are not necessarily exactly parallel, but the ones that I'm running certainly are. And when it comes to crossover stuff, we will deal with that when we deal with that. It's very important not to make people do... I'm not going to dictate to Neil, nor is he going to dictate to me how long each of the sessions or each of the gigs in the different towns should be, the different mysteries. Because people have different play styles, and his group has a different play style to my groups. I haven't seen all of the latest episode of the Narcissistic Tendencies, but their first episode was so good. It was so good. The amount of actual charisma that those players have is phenomenal. So, muchos buenos, other words, very, very good. Somebody's just put in the group chat, go Mockeries. Woo! Absolutely, go Mockeries. I will say we just finished wrapping up the second mystery in the town of Merleystone. So those are going to be episodes 5 and 6 that we just finished filming. So the Mockeries have some very good stuff coming down the line. I'm very excited for you guys to watch what happens with this band. The stakes got really high really quickly. So yes, Pete's Nico, go Mockeries. For anybody who can't see that, going forward, that's in the live chat, because these are live and this is so good to be able to talk to people who are watching. In any case, yes, so the Mockeries, Pete's, hello Lily, how's it going? I won't type a response because I'm making the video as we speak, but hello. All right, that's the Instagram, doesn't matter. Mockeries is super good. So let's talk about episode 2. This was the conclusion to the first town of Oddmore that they were talking about. So they start by leaving Mockery, the tiefling, at his home and going and investigating the mayor's house, and they go and investigate the Emporium of Wiggly Wax, which, come on, I'm a sucker for alliteration, and it works because there's the whole thing about the wax figures coming to life. They don't in this episode. Spoilers, they don't come to life in this episode because that's super creepy and not what we were going for with that. But yeah, so they go to the Emporium of Wiggly Wax and sort of discover what the mystery has been about. And usually when these mysteries end, there's some information that doesn't go out, that doesn't fully get uncovered. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that with the town of Oddmore. Some stuff that they didn't find out would be that there was some more stuff to do with Mirth, who is Mockery's brother. There's a grave of his and some stuff there. I won't spoil anything because who knows what may end up being reintegrated into the story later on. But there was definitely some more stuff with Mirth and the nature of his demise. None of which was immediately relevant for the mystery, but potentially relevant for some overarching stuff. The other thing was the magic item that made him that made the guy Eberk, the mayor, encased in this like wax form and made him sound like that was actually like a magic item that he had that was given to him. And nothing especially happened with that. And what he's going to do now that he's not got any more makeup in the town going forward is a bit up in the air. He's definitely like galvanized the town into adoring the Mockeries and their statues of the Mockeries. But insofar as when he's paid off his debts, what he's going to do next, whether that be try to get the people to accept him for who he is, admit that he's lied, or to go out and find somewhere else to live. That is honestly going to be a bit of a roll of the dice, and we will see what happens with that. But yeah, they managed to. I loved this episode because it just reinforces this idea for me as a DM that you cannot ever write the conclusions to the stories that you bring to people. It's because It never in a million years would occur to me that they would be like, yes, go ahead, save your own life, like use the money to pay off the yeah, blackmail. Use the money to pay off the mob, but in turn for us letting you do that, you have to do something for us. And the fact that that never occurred to me, I assumed that they would want the money for themselves and let the mayor die. Um, or the mayor would like get away and manage to do this, but they beat him, they caught him, and and they leveraged they used their leverage on him to to boost their popularity to a degree I was not anticipating this early on. I was anticipating more of a slow growing. And if you're interested, that's definitely the case going over in the reserve list story. Um, that's kind of the idea. But they have, especially in light of what recent stuff is happening. I'm not going to spoil things going forward, but um, this is the beginning of a real thing. Like their popularity has gone through the roof. And Oddmore is kind of like blaring their appreciation for this band all the time, very, very loudly indeed, to the point where the other bands will definitely hear about the Mockeries. Yeah, so incredible role-playing decisions. Callum is very new to D&D, and this was still episode 2 is still part of the first session that he ever played. So there's a huge congratulations to be given to him, and admiration that I have for him that he took like a fish to water to this game, and managed to pull off combat in the first session without having like his first combat ever, and did it in an effective way where he understood what was going on. It was absolutely amazing, amazing stuff. So yeah, Callum's awesome, and a big round of applause to him. Let's talk about the reserve list, episode 2. So yeah, we sort of split this next session up into 2 sections, and they decided to go and talk to Madam Mad. We got Miranda back for this episode, which was huge. Isabin Zanula is such a great character, and Miranda Coleman's who plays her is a gloriously talented human being. I am working with her on a writing project outside of the game, and forgive me, I just completely lost my train of thought. I'm working with her on a writing project outside of the game, and she is brilliant. All of her stuff that she does is awesome, and she's got this character who is a lot of fun. And going without her for a session was good and fine, but was so much better with her. So yes, they get to talk to Madam Mad, and Madam Mad was one of these characters. I knew what the gag was going to be in terms of her accessibility in the world, like in terms of where she was going to show up. And the idea that there's going to be a Madam Mad's augury auction in every town in the games that I run. But there's a reason behind that. But their actual meeting with Madam Mad, and the fact that they were willing to engage in what was clearly like just the most slapdash auction. You shouldn't hold an auction for just one group of people. You become a shop. And I definitely play into the fact that I personally don't know all of the etiquette of running an auction. And so whenever I trip up or whatever, it sort of helps with this persona of this woman who doesn't quite know what she's doing and is a little bit all over the place. So yes, there's real ignorance going on behind the scenes. I do know that you shouldn't have an auction for just like one group of people, but considering the world building and stuff, I wanted to give them access to the potential to get these magic items and things, even though the town was on lockdown, essentially. Admitting that you don't know stuff is rough. Don't worry, I'm going to learn more about auctioning things, and we'll do a proper auction at some point with many people bidding and what have you. Maybe when we get to one of the big cities, it'd be interesting. In any case, they spend some time with Madam Mad, and these interpersonal things start to come up, like Isabin's the one who sort of hands out money, and Nurgle has this thing going with Madam Mad, where he sort of charms her. And I just love this, like in a group composition where there are two dex-based rogues. There's a dexterity and wisdom-based ranger and an intelligence-based wizard. There are no charisma people. There are no charisma-based characters. The fact that we've had so much persuasion and like Tom Bar Jolly Snorkels, Julian's disguise as Lord Snorkelton is so good. Like, it's so good. Coming in last episode with that, the ghost hunter, Lord Snorkelton, and what was I saying? And then Nurgle convincing, or charming rather, Madam Mad, and having this thing. It's so good. So I really appreciated all of that aspect of it. From my perspective, just running it and then later watching it back when I'm editing and uploading and stuff like that. I think it's each in the few. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this next. We'll talk about Madam Mad in the other game next week. But Madam Mad is one of those hallmark characters of this game that I want to be there if they want to interact with her whenever. Like, and if they never want to interact with her again, they never do. But she'll be in a game where they're going from town to town and the cast is sort of changing and stuff. I feel like it's important to have a couple of NPCs who are consistent. And the two so far that are being this consistent are, of course, Hujima, the band. Zanula's the band manager, is the band manager, but their sponsor, Zachariah Bilbron, the gnome. Yes, so Zachariah Bilbron is, and Madam Mad are sort of the overarching people so far. So yeah, and the one thing I'll say about episode 2, which was like a difficult call for me to make, but I decided it'd be more interesting to like get the scheduling of the episodes on track, was the entire episode is dedicated to their talking with Madam Mad and not to dealing with the mystery. But don't worry, the mystery does get concluded next episode. But sometimes you just want to do a shopping bit, you know what I mean? And Madam Mad was like, being one of these recurring people, I wanted to give it the time to introducing her, to this game. So that is sort of that. I always want to talk about like the most recent stuff that's been like filmed as opposed to the stuff that you have seen, which is wrong, and I should get with the program. In any case, these games are super fun to run. Everybody is so charismatic and so witty and brilliant. And I know that this is basically just me like hyping people up, but everybody is so good, and it's such a joy to. The reason I want to talk about the stuff that's coming up is because it's been such a joy to see these characters start to develop more, and for these like story threads to start to be planted, um, which are going to carry on and continue into the rest of these games. That what I guess I wanted to say is, although this is episodic, and although they go to different towns and the cast is changing and it's sort of Scooby Doo in that way, we are learning more about these characters, and the stakes are being raised, and there are overarching stories that are being introduced, and those are very different for the two groups. And I just wanted to put that out there and say, like, stick with this show, because my heart becomes so filled with every passing session, because things continue to grow and develop in such a satisfying way. I cannot wait to keep going with it, and for you guys to keep watching, and to see where this goes. Like it feels like it could develop into something really wonderful and meaningful. So that's that's completely due to what these guys are doing. I watch a Scooby Doo episode. I for a modicum of inspiration, I write a mystery which honestly bears very little resemblance to that episode, and watch them tear my story to pieces in the most beautiful, amazing ways. In any case, let's talk a little bit about this thing. Let's talk a little bit about the two campaigns being different, and how I wanted them to be different from one another, or how they ended up being different from one another. Because you never want it. Like, these are not the same party, and you're never going to get the same story with different groups of people. If I have, it's very rare that I've done this, but I've run a one shot for 3 different groups of people. I've only ever done that with one other thing that I've run. I've run it for 2 groups. But I had this one shot that was written, and people were like, "We want a one shot," and I was like, "Okay, yes, I will do this one shot." Again, with different people, and every time it's completely different. The way the characters interact with the players, the things that the players are interested in doing, even with the same basic plot planned out. That was actually, I'll just drop that in. It is the last iteration of that one shot. It's called Saving Pendletown, and now it became the basis of a home game that I've been running it. I'm almost done running now. We're almost at the end of the campaign, which is canonically set 224 years before the events of the Mockeries in the Reserve List, the Race to the Battle of the Bands. 220 years before the God Heist. So we have plans, my friends and I, to create some content to bring that story to you. So at some point on this channel, I don't know if it's necessary to do it while Race to the Battle of the Bands is going up, but at some point on this channel, you will get videos which walk through that game and what we did during that game and what the story was. And that's for longtime fans of the channel, for people who watched God Heist, that is going to show you a little bit of the world building of Cygalia, and give you more insight into what's going on, and what will potentially be the subject matter of future seasons of that main game, even though we are exploring the world and building out the world in Race to the Battle of the Bands. Cool beans. So I was talking about doing these games very differently from one another, and it became very clear to me. The one game with the Mockeries, Daisy, Lily, and Callum, a Tabaxi, a UNT, and a Tiefling, all with their own sort of goals. It's going to be a very different game to sort of a ragtag group of thieves, con artists, and musicians in the reserve list. Not only are the party balances completely different, but people are different, and what people are interested in are different as well. And I will always endeavor to build stories around the people who are playing, because otherwise there's this incredible disconnect, right? There's no point in putting forth problems that are, based on religious stuff to the reserve list, for example, because there's nobody who's especially interested in that kind of stuff, and their character's not especially connected to that stuff. Whereas religion is a huge part of the Mockeries, because it's such a huge part of the cosmology, the nine hells, being a warlock with a devil patron, and it's a huge part of Daisy's character of Thesia, this UNT who's trying to become the next champion of Malar. So there's a lot to play with in that, and there's a lot that's connected very deeply to these people. And so things have started to emerge. There's an overarching thing, which eventually you guys will clue into, because it'll become more and more apparent as the episodes go on, between all three of these games, including narcissistic tendencies. Hint, hint, a golden spider with emerald eyes. But I wanted to have a secondary overarching thing. I wanted to have a second overarching thing for each different group. So for the Mockeries, that is sort of this religious conflict that is going on, that is centered around, on the mortal plane, people are still dealing with the blood war. And obviously, Cloud is also part of the story, and she's looking for her people. And I'm not going to spoil anything for that, because there's stuff to come. Ooh. And I know that at least one of those players is actually watching this stream right now. Once again, hello, Lily. But for the other group, it came in the form of I had a conversation with Alberta about her character in that series, about Gwen, and we had a little chat about some stuff that could happen in terms of like her background and what her motivation was for coming to Garandia from Thora Grove. And we sort of built out a little bit of her family stuff, and that blended really well with the story that I had in mind for the next place that they go to, Rithertell. And so going forward, there is another overarching thing that begins in the next gig. So by episode 4, you will see for the reserve list what that is. And it's important, I think. I've explained why it's important to have different things for the two groups, but in terms of like keeping it congruous with one another, I'll say this and then I will wrap up. I'll say these people are on their own journeys, but the band aspect of it is still very much in keeping with the Race to the Battle of the Bands thing. So the reserve list and the Mockeries are still going to end up in conflict with one another in terms of band a battle of the bands, but their personal journeys don't have to be connected. And in fact, I feel shouldn't be connected because the crossover event should not necessarily be a moment of climax for these two groups in terms of their own arcs, in terms of their personal overarching arcs, not to do with the spider. Um, but the overarching deal with that because when they get together, there are going to be a lot of people on screen. And when there are a lot of people on screen, there's less time that you can devote to each individual person. Whereas with the reserve list, there are 4 characters, and with the Mockeries, there are 3 characters. And if we do those personal arcs within the context of those individual series, you really get a chance for that for them to dig into that uh, and get the real payoff of those stories individually, and then have this goal of winning the race to the Battle of the Bands, and that be the point where they come together. And so these people who have already been on a journey sort of do a there and back again thing, where when they come back to Hobbiton, that is when they can have this conflict that against people they will definitely have heard of, but who are not deeply embroiled in their personal quests and personal journeys. So hope that makes sense. Thank you everybody so much for watching another episode of Roll Insight, Race to the Battle of the Bands. I will be doing another one of these, I suppose, within the week, after episodes 3 and 3 of these 2 series are released. And I will talk about what happened in those and give a little bit more insight into them. Alrighty, guys. Take care, and please stay safe out in the world. Things being what they are. Yeah. Take care, and more episodes coming imminently.